My ex threw me under the bus to make himself look good. Who does that to someone they profess they love? And it wasn't even necessary. He could have just left me out of it and been just fine. In hindsight, it's absolutely mind-blowing how much they tell on themselves. He was showing me how much of a coward he is. This is a really good comment on how pathological narcissists operate, because you could be off minding your business and these people are going to try to sabotage you. It is important to understand that pathological narcissism is not a type of knowledge impairment. It is a type of empathy impairment. They do not have empathy to give. So when it comes to the NPD diagnoses, and you can find this in the DSM, and the DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Illnesses, right? It's a book. And the DSM is governed by the APA, and the APA is the American Psychiatric Association. So when you take a look at the NPD diagnostic criteria, the individual would have to have 5 or more of the 9 traits that you see listed in the DSM to be categorized as someone with NPD. But I want to make it abundantly clear to you folks, if you encounter someone with 1 or even 2 of these traits, then you're going to be dealing with a very dysfunctional individual. So based on how the DSM categorizes this, there really are 3 main characteristics that you can look out for when it comes to pathological narcissists. So again, they need 5 to be diagnosed, but these kind of all circle around these 3 main characteristics. And number 1 is that they are grandiose, so they believe that they are superior to you without merit. Number 2 is that they require excessive amounts of attention, admiration, validation, and your reflection. And thirdly, it is that they are empathy impaired because they do not have any empathy to give to you. And also know that NPD, pathological narcissism, is found in the cluster B personality disorders. And someone could be very well diagnosed with NPD and ASPD. ASPD is what you may commonly call sociopathy and or psychopathy. So you could be dealing with a narcissistic sociopath or a sociopathic narcissist or a psychopathic narcissist. And these individuals are very malevolent and very sadistic, because the further down they go, the less empathy they have, right? So the psychopath has less empathy than a sociopath that has less empathy than a narcissist that has less empathy than a borderline, and so on. So what you're looking at is varying degrees of empathy impairment. So again, the psychopaths, those deep in antisocial personality disorder, would be way more lawless than the others. But again, all of this is dysfunctional or a type of dysregulation. And narcissists will set you up. They will throw you under the bus. You could be minding your business and these individuals will set you up. And this is because what pathological narcissists care about is their image. They do not care about their true self. They don't really have much of a true self or a true identity. What they care about is the mask that they wear in public. If we go back to the original story where narcissistic personality disorder is based off of, this is Narcissus from Greek mythology. And Narcissus was a boy that was obsessed with his reflection in the pool in the pond. And he was so obsessed with his reflection that he eventually fell in the pond and drowned. So the story of Narcissus was actually a warning of being self-absorbed. And pathological narcissists are self-absorbed individuals. Again, these individuals do not have a true identity because essentially one did not develop. So they started dissociating since their childhood years, and they dissociated from their true self, and instead what developed was a false self. The masks that they wear, the ego, and the ego is what you need to boost. This is why they have the insatiable desire for attention, admiration, and validation. This is what you call narcissistic supply. And they need narcissistic supply, and they need this esteem from outside of themselves. They need this other esteem because they simply cannot esteem themselves. Pathological narcissism, people, is based out of pathological shame, pathologically low self-esteem. And this is self-esteem so low that they would probably have to look up to see it because it is little to non-existent. They have pathologically low self-esteem because they dissociated from their true selves in childhood. You need a self. You need a true self to have self-esteem. And because they do not have a true self, then they must get other esteem. So because they don't have it in-house, inside the house, then they'll try to seek this outside of the house. And people understand that the ego has an insatiable desire for attention, admiration, and validation. The ego cannot be satiated. It is not designed to be a true self. And you'll see where when you confront the narcissist, they will have a narcissistic injury. And what is a narcissistic injury? A narcissistic injury is when a pathological narcissist perceives a threat, whether real or imagined, that goes against the false self, the ego, their grandiose sense of self. So you're looking at someone that does not want to have an ego death. They do not want to go through their own dark night of the soul. They are not on the process of being spiritually awakened. What is happening is that they are holding on to this mask for dear life because they believe that they are the mask. They believe that they are the false self. Jim Carrey, who plays Stanley Ipkiss in The Mask, has that green mask glued on to his face and he does not want to take it off. When you try to look behind the mask, people, pathological narcissists have a narcissistic injury. And oftentimes you will see where they will lash out at you when they have a narcissistic injury because they will try to punish you for having them try to self-reflect. And this is how crazy this thing is because, again, understand that they are rooted in their shame, again, pathological shame, and they cannot move past their pride. So again, this is very, very low self-esteem. And they did not develop past their lower ego. And this is why they're stuck in a childlike state. And when I say childlike state here, I do not mean an innocent state. I mean a childlike state because they're very unstable. And just like a child, they cannot regulate their own emotions. So you will see where they throw tantrums like a toddler. But we're not talking about toddlers here. We are talking about adults. And when an adult throws a tantrum, people, that is domestic violence. And sometimes these relationships end up with homicide. People get attacked. Pathological narcissists, especially, again, those that are on the deeper end of the spectrum and they overlap with sociopathy or psychopathy, that which the clinicians call antisocial personality disorder. People, these individuals are lawless. Lawlessness comes in when you're dealing with antisocial behavior, because this antisocial behavior is against the building of communities. They are against the building of relationships. They destroy, they lie, they connive, they cause chaos and derision, because that is what you get in the third dimension. That is what you get in victim abuser consciousness. That is what you get from someone that is suffering from psycho-spiritual arrested development. And when I say psycho here, understand that this is related to the psyche or the personality or the soul. So we're talking about the mind power, the willpower, and the emotions. So since pathological narcissists have a personality disorder, then they have an impairment at the level of the mind, the will, and the emotions. And this is a psycho-spiritual illness. So their psyche is compromised, their souls are compromised, right? The personality is compromised, and they're also compromised at the spirit level. So what you'll see then is that body is walking around, flesh is walking around just like a zombie. Physically, they are alive, but they are going through a spiritual death. And the longer they walk around here on this planet, people, the more their spirit shrivels up and the bigger the ego gets. Essentially, you're dealing with people that are programmed backwards. They do not have a connection to their true self. What they are connected to is a false self, the ego, the mask. And again, when you try to take that mask off, they have an narcissistic injury. And a narcissistic injury is when a pathological narcissist perceives a threat, whether real or imagined, that goes against the grandiose false self. It goes against the ego. They believe that they are the ego. And understand that if someone believes that they are the ego, and the ego is a mind-made construct, if someone believes that they are the mind, then they are losing their mind. And this is why, for one, you'll find narcissistic personality disorder in the DSM. And the DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Illnesses. However, understand that the DSM is not going to give you spiritual information because it is not the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for spiritual illnesses. So understand that at a spirit level, these individuals checked out somewhere between 5 and 12 years old. So the captain abandoned the ship. The captain jumped overboard. The driver's in the back seat. They are in the sunken place. They are in the upside down. They are lost souls. They are dark souls. They are not here. They are nowhere. And if you follow pathological narcissist people, you will also end up nowhere. You will see where you are losing yourself because you're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the sunken place because you are following a crazy person. There really is no other way around this. Pathological narcissist people are clinically insane, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. They have been going around in this shame, pride cycle since their childhood years. They idealize, devalue, discard, hoover, idealize, devalue, discard, hoover, and again and again and again because they really are unconscious. Zombies walking around with the insatiable desire to be fed. A zombie's belly cannot be full. Zombies need to consume because they are parasites. And what you are dealing with is an energy vampire. So it is important that you learn how to discern the individuals that are in front of you because, again, some people will try to set you up and you have not done anything to them. And the only reason that they are setting you up is because they believe that you are weak because you are kind. Pathological narcissists believe people that kindness is a weakness. This is how they think in their mind. I'm not saying that this is a fact overall. Pathological narcissists believe that kindness is a weakness. This is how they think in their mind. This is their belief system. They do not think like you. Lions do not think like gazelles. All right? Eagles do not think like vultures. Eagles are hunters. Vultures are scavengers. They do not think the same. Eagles want fresh meat. Vultures want rotten meat. Victims do not think like abusers. So when you're dealing with someone that is stuck in victim abuser consciousness, then the only relationship that you will have with them is a victim abuser type 1 because they do not believe in equality. Equality cannot exist in the third dimension. What exists in the third dimension is victims and abusers, is masters and slaves. So you're dealing with someone that believes that you are beneath them. And this is why they will try to throw you under the bus. Because in their minds, they believe this is where you belong, beneath them. And that really is the message for today, kind folks. If you need some help on how to traverse this journey, on how to heal adequately from pathological narcissists, then go ahead and book a session. Let's talk, let's connect. Because here's the thing. If you do not adequately heal, if you do not adequately address the childhood trauma, the childhood wounds, the childhood emotional neglect that caused this in the first place, then you will see where you will attract more narcissistic individuals, more sociopathic individuals, again, these takers, these abusive individuals, because you're not able to see exactly what you are dealing with. So it is important that you do not project your consciousness onto abusers because they do not think like you. So go ahead and book a session, kind people. All of the links are on the page, and I'll help you take you from A to Z on exactly how to overcome this so that you can have healthy, wholesome relationships with the people in your life. So again, this could be friendship relationships, intimate relationships, etc. Take that courageous first step and reach out. Let's connect. Take that courageous first step and get the courage to walk away and stay away from these toxic personality types, because it is when you get the courage to walk away and stay away is where you'd find peace, courage, enlightenment, etc. Peace is on the other side of abuse. You cannot get peace in the third dimension. The only thing you'll find in the third dimension is suffering. You have no business in the third dimension. So, kind people, thank you always for your continued support. We are growing. We are growing together, and this is a fabulous thing. So thank you for your support. If you have any questions or feedback, go ahead and leave that in the comment section. Ensure that you're liking these videos. Ensure that you're subscribed for more empowering content. Sheikah is the name. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.